What's going on, guys? SolgrOnly here from Sports Nerd Web with this year's first episode of Sports Nerd Web Weekly. So let me just start this off by saying that I hope everyone had a happy and safe New Year's, and it's time to get back into it. It was nice taking a couple week break, especially work had been, really hectic over the last month or so. So it was definitely nice to finally take some time and relax a little bit, but we got to get back in, got to get back on that grind. So what we'll be doing this episode, first I'm going to be going over this little mystery that's kind of going on in the world of Destiny right now, and then we'll also take a look back at some of the best games from last year as well. One of the last days that the Dawning was actually going on in Destiny, how there was the daily dawning gifts in the tower that you can open on I think it was actually the last reset. So it was the last Tuesday that that the dawning was there. There was actually a new gift there, and it was a gift of fortunes or something like that it was called. And actually, what happened when you opened it gave players just a random like a random fortune kind of type thing. And a lot of people in the community are kind of wondering if it's Bungie's way of hinting at something, possibly stuff to come in Destiny 2. And I kind of I really wouldn't be surprised if it is, because as we all know, Bungie loves their subliminal messages and hidden stuff in their games and things like that. I mean, they've been doing it since the Halo days, so I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they are doing something like that, especially when and from there's actually a Reddit list that Guardians and members of the community have built of some of the fortunes that they were getting. I mean, and there's some that are more like kind of tongue in cheek, like humor ones, but then there's also ones that are really kind of dark and foreboding, and that definitely seem like that they could be pertaining to stuff to come down the line in Destiny 2. For instance, one of them says, "You will destroy to rebuild." This is one of the ones that's most intriguing to me, because especially with the whole debate going around, are we going to be carrying our characters over? Are we going to be starting fresh from scratch, with all new characters, all new gear, things like that? So you will destroy to rebuild. That's an interesting one to see. Then you have some like an unusual amount of engrams will turn into strange coins. Your enemies will tremble before you. Be open to others. Your walls will come down. Master Rahul will surprise you. Then he will disappoint you. You are not alone. Listen to the quiet and learn what it has to teach you. Shax will inevitably shout at you. Your future is full of glimmer, engrams, strange coins, and legendary marks. You warm others in the coldest times. You will pull off a stunning upset in the crucible. You will fail to impress Eris, but then so will everyone else. This one right here is actually a really good one. The speaker will dream of beautiful and terrible things. That one's pretty interesting as well. You will gain favor in the eyes of the vanguard. You have much to offer those you meet, and they have much to teach you. You are not alone. The tower stands with you. The city stands behind you cautiously. This is actually one of the ones I got. I can't remember if I got this on Xbox or PlayStation 4, but this is actually one of the ones I got. It's you stood by the city in its hour of greatest need, and you will do so again. This one is also near the top of my list of one of the most interesting ones, because another theory that's going around the community is actually if the tower will actually be destroyed at the beginning of Destiny 2. And I think it would be really neat if they did, especially with this. You stood by the city in its hour of greatest need, and you will do so again. So it's almost like, one of the enemy types, maybe the Cabal, attacks the tower, and the tower is destroyed, and thus destroying our vault, right? So then it would destroy our vault, and that's actually a way that Bungie can work it into the lore of us starting from scratch as far as our loot and gear is concerned, and that's definitely one possibility that can happen. And then one of the last ones here, this one's actually kind of funny. It says, "Help, my name is Cade, and I am stuck writing fortunes in the tower." So obviously it was Cade that wrote all the fortunes uh, and put them all in the box, I guess. So uh, yeah, your enemies will tremble before you. Yeah, it seems like that's pretty much about when it's, it looks like that's pretty much most of them. And I guess it was all random, so it was kind of just tied to RNG. I'm really interested to see what comes of this. I mean, of course, this all could be just much you do about nothing, but as I said, it's usually not nothing when it comes to Bungie. They definitely like all their little hidden clues and hints and hiding their secrets in plain sight. And so and Bungie never does anything just for nothing. So like I think that there's definitely going to be something behind this. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. This is actually also just a really interesting time in the world of Destiny. Period. I mean, we were hitting that content drought, and then the Dawning dropped and kind of saved us and distracted us for a few weeks. And now, now that the Dawning's gone, the good thing is, though, is that a lot of things that was introduced in the Dawning is staying. You still are going to be you still are going to be able to do Sparrow Racing League through private matches. The new strike scoring is still going to be there. The 3 strikes that they updated are obviously still going to be there. So Bungie is actually still on their holiday break, so I don't think we'll really hear anything from them. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a twab from them or something. Maybe Thursday. I'm not sure, but I think hopefully we should hear something from them next week. Definitely, like in the next week or two, we should definitely get a twab or something from them, and hopefully they'll put out a new roadmap. I would imagine that I'm kind of expecting. I'm pretty sure I think in February, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Crimson Days return. I don't think we're going to see a Destiny 2 announcement until E3, and obviously probably Destiny 2 dropping in the fall. There's actually a lot of people in the community that are starting to believe that Destiny 2 won't even drop this year. I mean, Activision has said numerous times in conference calls and things like that Destiny 2 will be coming out in 2017. But some people in the community think that that they haven't. I mean, they have been working on it for a long time, so it's not like that they just started working on it. And they do have pretty much 90% of the studio working on it. So I think that they will be able to hit like at least a fall. Bungie likes to release their stuff in September, so I think I'm definitely expecting it around September. So we'll have to stay tuned, and hopefully we'll hear something from Bungie soon. What I wanted to get into real quick, just some of the best games of last year. The interesting genre from 2016 was actually the shooter genre. There was a ton of great shooters that came out this year, particularly in the fall alone. Definitely in like November in itself. I mean, just in that like 2 or 3 week span, we had Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And all 3 of those games are actually on IGN's Best Shooters of 2016 list. That's actually the list that I'm looking at right now to talk about this. First off, on Battlefield 1, I haven't played it yet. I did play the beta, and the beta was just a multiplayer one. And yeah, I do play PvP and multiplayer games, but I don't know. Battlefield 1 is kind of an interesting one for me because I am planning on getting it now, but I'm planning on getting it just for the campaign, right? I don't really. I mean, I love like Destiny's PvP. I play Call of Duty's PvPs. Titanfall 2 has excellent multiplayer, but I don't know, for whatever reason, Battlefield 1, I'm planning on getting it just for the campaign. So stay tuned to the channel. I will have my thoughts on Battlefield 1 in the near future once I get it and complete the campaign for that. But that one is really a high rated game. I wouldn't be surprised if Battlefield 1 does end up being IGN's Best Shooter of the year. Next up, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. This one's actually an interesting one because when the first trailer was debuted and it was announced back in June at E3, it quickly became one of the most disliked videos in YouTube history. And once it came out, it actually surprised a lot of people because the single player campaign was actually a lot better than a lot of people was expecting. I mean, me personally, it's pretty well documented in my videos that I'm not the biggest Call of Duty fan. I normally don't get a lot of them. I didn't even get Black Ops 3 until literally probably like 5-6 months ago, so. And I did get Infinite Warfare, so this is probably like the first time ever that I bought 2 Call of Duty games back to back, in their release line. But yeah, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare definitely surprised me. And when I do get Call of Duty games, I normally get it, like I said, for the multiplayer. Their campaigns normally aren't that great, but I really did like the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare single player campaign. I mean, me personally, I like the Titanfall 2 one better. For my vote, Titanfall 2 would get was my favorite shooter in 2016, but Infinite Warfare was actually really close to it. I haven't played any of the zombies mode yet, and I actually haven't even played any of the multiplayer in Infinite Warfare yet either. But from what I have heard from it is that it is pretty much not much has really changed since the Black Ops 3 multiplayer. I heard that the zombies mode was really good, though, that it was a lot better than the zombies from Black Ops 3. Up next is Doom. This was actually a pleasant surprise to a lot of gamers as well. I haven't beat the Doom campaign yet. I actually need to play it some more. I don't even know how many. I think I've maybe put maybe about 5 or 6 hours in it. I haven't even really played it that much, but it is amazing. It hits that nostalgia part of me. It does remind me of playing it, back on the PC, decades ago, and it's a phenomenal shooter. Even on console. I mean, it moves so fast, even on console, and it's an amazing game. That's another game that I would recommend getting it strictly for the single player campaign. The multiplayer component of that game hasn't really gotten that good of reviews and stuff like that, so it's definitely a shooter to get for single players. So I wouldn't get it looking for playing with friends and multiplayer and things like that. Next up is Gears of War 4. This is one I still haven't gotten this one or tried this out yet. This one, I've been hearing a lot of good things about it, though. I heard that it is one of the best ones in the series. I heard that the campaign is really good, and pretty much from what I've heard, it's just more of the same. Great single player campaign and great multiplayer with it as well. I have seen that they are doing esports with Gears 4 already, so it definitely has to have a solid multiplayer. Before the game was released, when I was reading about it, there was actually a multiplayer mode in there that actually sounded really interesting, and I think it'd be neat to see in some other games, particularly games like Destiny. I would love to see it in Destiny, but it was a multiplayer mode called Dodgeball, and it works pretty much just like you'd expect from like a dodgeball game. So when your player's killed, you're out of the game and you're on the sideline. And then if once your team kills someone from the other team, then one of your team members from the sideline can come in, just like in a game of dodgeball. And I think that would make for some interesting gameplay in a multiplayer shooter like that. I think that'd be really neat. They actually have Killing Floor 2 on here. This game actually came out not that long ago. I really haven't heard much about it. I haven't even really done hardly any research on it. I have seen some really small, quick clips from it, and it does actually look pretty interesting. Before I give any thoughts or anything on it, I definitely need to try it out or look more into it. Of course, you cannot mention 2016 shooters without mentioning the Video Game Awards Game of the Year, actually, Overwatch. I absolutely love this game. This game is phenomenal. this game, I know that I said, yeah, Titanfall 2 would be my vote for shooter of the year. Overwatch technically probably is a slightly better one. The reason why for me Titanfall 2 I would put above Overwatch is just because Titanfall 2 appeals to my style of gameplay, my style of play a little more than a game like Overwatch, because Titanfall 2 also has a great single player campaign where Overwatch doesn't. Overwatch is just strictly competitive multiplayer, which I do love doing, but that's not all I love. I mean, I am slightly more into single player games than, because I'm only recently getting into like heavy multiplayer games in just this last year. Before this last year, I didn't really play hardly any like online multiplayer games. I always just played single player games. So a lot of this still is kind of new. So, but Overwatch, it is just such a solid game. Their net code, their just their engine and their graphics and the shooting mechanics and everything is just so solid. Everything just works so cohesively and so well together to make this just phenomenal, once in a lifetime shooter. And the future is definitely bright for this franchise, and I can't wait to see what they come up with next with it. Since release too, they Blizzard has kept up with it nicely. They've already added. I think two new characters, at least two or three new characters. They've released new maps. When the Olympics was going on, they had the Olympics mode. They've had Halloween events. They just had a holiday Christmas event. So Blizzard is keeping up with it nicely, and the esports community has actually blew up with this game. And as I said a few weeks ago at the Video Game Awards, it actually won Game of the Year. It actually beat out Uncharted 4. Again, me personally, my Game of the Year would be Uncharted 4. I'll get into that later. Later this week, when me and Fuchsia, when we do our podcast, we're going to be talking about all of our Game of the Years and all of our best of 2016 for movies and video games and TVs and stuff like that. I'm just focusing on the shooter aspect in this episode, but Overwatch is deserving of Game of the Year. It is that good of a game. But like I said, me personally, I would have picked Uncharted 4, but I definitely don't disagree with Overwatch winning Game of the Year for the Video Game Awards. So, and then after that they actually have Shadow Warrior 2 up here. This one's actually really interesting. As the time I'm filming this, Shadow Warrior 2 is actually only available on PC, which I don't have, a good gaming PC right now, so I'm actually signing up to get one. But I did watch one of my favorite streamers play this game, and it looks amazing. I can't. This game is supposed to be coming out on console any time now. Actually, I think the last time I saw it was Q1 of 2017. So anytime in the next month or two, couple months, we should be seeing this come out on PS4 and Xbox One, I think. But Shadow Warrior 2 looks so good. I actually went back and I tried out the first one, and the first one's really good as well too. So I've been playing a lot of the first one. So, and I definitely can't wait to dive into the second one once that finally comes out on console. And then just wrap up their list, we have Titanfall 2. So yeah, obviously, like I said, this was a very good year for shooters. 2016, it was an amazing year for video games. Like I said, keep up with the channel. We normally do our podcast on Sundays, and we'll be talking more about some of our favorites, some of the best of from 2016 when we record our next episode of that. But yeah, that's gonna pretty much do it for this one. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm tired. It's been a long week. So, but yeah, thanks for watching. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let me know what some of your guys' favorite games were from 2016, particularly shooters, since that's what I talked about in this episode. So, give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Sub to the channel for more content. You can keep up to date with the channel at on Twitter at SportsNerd48. And we'll see you in the next one. I'm going to get some rest. Peace.